It is my pleasure to introduce Molly Giddens. Her bio is on your table. Just to hit a few high notes, she is, it's not on their table. I told you I was filling in for Larry. Well, I'll read it to you. She works for the Georgia Chamber of Commerce in Tifton, Georgia. She is a Georgia native, serves as a regional manager for the Chamber Center for Rural Prosperity in Tifton, Georgia. She graduated cum laude from Valdosta State University, where she obtained degrees in criminal justice and Spanish. In between working and finishing her undergraduate degree, she made it a point to obtain her cosmetology license. Currently, Molly is pursuing a master's in public administration at Valdosta State, where she will concentrate on public policy. I'll go a little off script as well on this. She's from Ocilla, Georgia. Is that right?
I live there.
Live there.
Yes.
She's a criminal justice major, and this is certainly not a plug for anything, but if you haven't listened to it, you need to look up and Vanished. It is a podcast that details the murder of Tara Grinstad, and it happened in little old Ocilla, Georgia, and it was solved out of a podcast. So her being in the criminal justice world, her living in Ocilla, Georgia, that's a little useless trivia for your Friday. So please join me in welcoming Molly Giddens.
Thank you all. Sadly, I will not be answering questions on the podcast today, but I will take questions over this information because I'm sure it's going to spark some after we conclude. Let me get my papers all right. What I'm about to show you right here is our 2030 data, and this is our presentation from that data. It shows projections as well as opportunities that we have with the projections that we're showing and working in the future. Just to give you a little bit of background, in about 2016, Chris and the crew went around the state and they polled and had several surveys to town hall meetings to what have you, but tried to just figure out what the issues were in each community because they're different, and what the issues were as a whole for rural Georgia. So what we need to focus on is the information that's been projected as well as it moving forward, and that's kind of where we go from here. For the purpose of the data, we have county designations that are Atlanta, Hub, and Rural. Atlanta is the 12 counties of the metro Atlanta area. The hub counties are the 8 counties with a job total of more than 65,000 or nexus to a hub county. These counties right here have military bases, just to give you a heads up. Everyone else for the purpose of the data, is rural. Did everyone find your county? We good? Okay. These are our national rankings. As we are for the 5th year in a row, the best place to do business in, we still have some things we need to work on. Right here we do have our K through 12 education. We're ranked 33rd in the nation. Legal climate actually took a jump from 26 to 40. We need to make sure we have a place where fair and legal processes are in place for our businesses. The business tax climate is 36, poverty 45, obesity rate 33rd. Why does this matter? Obesity has something to do with our quality of life factors. Dropout rate actually decreased a little bit from 49th to 44th. Again, we want to look at these factors because long term, we need to change these. What we want to look at here is distressed counties. What exactly is distressed? It's those that aren't producing the jobs and the businesses that we need to have. Maybe the poverty rate is high, and I'll go into that later. What prosperous means is everyone's doing well. The counties are good, population growth, job growth. Borderline distress, they're doing better than their distressed neighbors, but they're not as doing well as prosperous. Distress, too, is, again, those that are needing help with all of the following that I'll go into in a little. Rank among the states. In the United States, we're the 4th most distressed, being 20%, and Georgia being 53%. The 20% has to do with our rural areas too, being distressed. Job growth is, again, the #1 factor for the distress score. Several things happened in the 90s. Well, actually, there was a lot of growth in the 90s. From there, we had 2 significant issues that kind of stunted our job growth. Does anyone know what those are? We had 2 recessions. From there, we actually had our population and our job growth drop into our rural areas. And from projecting forward, it looks like our rural areas are going to 1.6%, which means that we're not going to have a very high survival rate. And again, these projections are continued going forward if we don't change the status quo. Population growth is another thing we need to keep in mind. Most of our growth, though, is going to the Atlanta areas. Our hub counties are seeing some growth, and our rural areas are also seeing some growth, but I'll get into that in a minute on who exactly that is. Most of our population growth in our rural areas is 65 and older. What does this mean on your area? Well, senior citizens are going to be a larger stress on health care, their transportation, and they pay different taxes. So again, this is something to look at moving forward. It looks like too, our population was actually 25% or higher for the percent age of 65 and older in 2015. About only 8 or 6 different counties had that. Moving forward, most of our baby boomers will be retiring, leaving our rural communities with 22.4% of age 65 and older. 2 different generations we need to look at is our millennials and Gen Z. Everyone's tired of hearing about millennials. I get it. I am one. I'm tired of hearing about it too. The Atlanta area is actually spending about $25 million a year, if I can speak correctly, to recruit and retain millennials, because this is our largest workforce that we've ever seen generationally. One thing, too, we need to look at is we're having a loss of these millennials in our rural areas. Some minimal growth in our hub communities, but again, they're moving towards the Atlanta area. And companies are looking at that. Prospects are wanting to know the millennial rates coming forward, the projections, when they think about moving to a certain community and what that's going to mean long term. Another classification we're still learning about is the Gen Z population. That's the students who are in school currently. These are the students who are still influential. Our millennials most of them again have moved off to the Atlanta area. This is still the influential population that we can still influence to stay in our communities. Rural education, definitely something to consider right here. This is 1/3 of our rural students nationally. 8 of them live in low-income housing. 3rd grade reading level, let's get into that. Right here we have about 33.1% in our rural areas not reading at 3rd grade level. What does this mean? My CEO and president of Georgia Chamber, I'm sure you're all familiar with, Chris Clark, he actually discussed too when he actually was at the DNR, I think he proposed his budget. And prior to him coming to speak about his budget, the corrections was actually up speaking about their budget and their need for more correctional beds. And what they tied in to statistically to the correctional beds and their need for them was 3rd grade reading level. So that's basically how they generate their number for the need. A little daunting to think about.
Hello, I'm Matthew Bradshaw with City of Dublin Engineering. Did you know with a natural gas grill you never have to worry about running out of gas again? No more refilling those bulky propane tanks. You can simply have your gas grill connected to your existing natural gas line and enjoy the convenience of cooking with natural gas anytime. Call the City of Dublin Natural Gas Department today.
Hello, I'm Darren Keene with Clements & Keene Insurance. If you're like myself, you may be a self-employed individual with maybe 1 or 2 employees on your payroll. You may have thought in the past that you couldn't acquire group health insurance, but now you can. Some of the rules and regulations have changed to make it more favorable for you to do so for 2018. Give us a call at 272-8019 and let us help you with the decisions that you need to make for you and your business.
All right, this right here is something we're looking at with the Literary Commission, and Governor Deal's wife, Miss Sandra, is actually working on this as well. This kind of just gives you an idea. Of 100 ninth graders, 79 of those graduate. Of the 79, 59 enroll in post-secondary school, So this is your higher education. Moving into the graduate post-secondary, 33 of those only going in with 6 years or less. What's happening to these individuals that are falling out? Well, we already discussed some are going to prison, but the others are trapped in a cycle of poverty. Our poverty rates, again, it's this idea that we can't fully grasp, and I don't think we're going to fully have some type of solution for this, but again, it's something we need to note. If you don't think poverty is an issue in your area, drive a different way home. Of our poverty rate, the state, again, ranks 45th in the nation. Again, this could be another factor as to why we're one of the greatest places to do business in. It's probably cheaper. But our poverty, again, these are individuals that aren't working that could be. This is your workforce in your community as well. Something to think about. Another startling issue is under 18, those under 18 that are living in poverty. Again, this ties right back into your educational system. These students don't have the same means to get the supplies they need. They don't have the same access to technologies that other students have. Again, this is just, they're continuing in this cycle that they can't seem to break. Here's some facts for Lawrence County specifically. You're going to have some population growth. Again, if we go back, this could be due to our 65 and older population. Again, this is something we need to consider. Distress score, 93.9. Out of the counties, you're 125, so out of the 139. Adults not working, you have 41.7%. Again, this is a workforce that can be tapped into, again, if we address the poverty issue. Again, to the best of our abilities, we're not going to resolve it, but at least give some attention to it. Your population 65 and older, again, this could be into the growth of the population, is 23.1%. Your poverty rate, 27.5%, and your job growth is actually going to decrease 1.3%. And here's kind of where we start our opportunities as well. Again, daunting information. These were data points as well as projections, but again, what can you do with projections? You can change them. The old leadership model doesn't work anymore, where everyone works in different silos. Many times in the past, you had your government working over here, you had your private sector over here, your nonprofits over here, if they were even utilized, if they were even brought to the table. Your faith communities, many times are the best ones to deal with the issues we have, yet, again, they're not at the table. Again, this needs to be a play of all parties. Job creation, again, stems from your tourism and creative economy, redevelopment. We're working on something right now with the Georgia Department of Economic Development for Authentic Georgia, which kind of showcases us buying supplies and products from our own community. No more going to Amazon. We have it right here in the community. Keep the dollars here. It's a very, very simple and basic idea that we tend to overlook many times. We need to remember our small businesses, making sure that they have the incentives in place. Many times these small businesses can't keep up with the larger industries. Quality of life factors. This is something millennials and Gen Z are going to look at coming forward. Housing and poverty. Is there housing in place that the millennials and Gen Z can afford? We're getting paid lower than our generations above us. So is housing in place that actually we can afford? Is there the infrastructure we need? Healthcare. Healthcare is a huge ordeal. Do we have that in place in our community? Inclusiveness. who's at the table? Is it all old white men? Or is it inclusive of all other different types of people? Something to think about in regards to birth rates. The highest birth rate right now in the state of Georgia is Hispanics, that are actually 3 times the birth rate of whites. So that's making sure, again, that we have all different races at the table. Amenities. Is there a place where we can eat, work, pray, and play? Talent development. Something else to look at that millennials are very in tune with. Gen Z is probably going to be the same. They want to have that development. They, in their specific jobs, they want to be trained and developed, and that's something to also consider when looking at quality of life. Agriculture, again, is another big deal in our areas. $74.3 billion impact. Not Grady County, where was I the other day? Decatur County itself could feed Gwinnett County from what they produce in a year and have some left over. There's something to think about. So our rural Georgia does matter. When we're going to speak to our Atlanta communities, we just want to hint on that and make sure that they understand that we produce the food, the clothing. We're #1 nationally for blueberries. Also #1 for peanuts and pecans. Again, these are different sectors and industries that we have not fully tapped into, but need to continue to play on. Our defense communities. How many different installations we have right here? We have a lot of contractors in these specific areas and that are outside these areas in these neighboring communities. Again, this is a $6.4 billion industry right here. National rankings, we're #7 in defense spending. And #8 right here in military personnel. Again, large economic hubs and economic drivers. Healthcare. We are seeing a large shortage of physicians and nurses, especially in our rural and hub communities. This right here, if you want to write your own ticket anywhere, that's where you need to go into. Again, we need to make sure that we have students in our areas and in our high schools that know about these jobs in our communities and that are willing to go and take that extra mile. It's not always going to be a 4-year degree, a 6-year degree, what have you. We need to go back and reevaluate our tech jobs as well. Advanced manufacturing. With our logistics as well as the opening of the widening of the port, this is a huge market that we, again, could tap further into. 25% or more of these industries are in our areas outside of the metro area. If you can see right here clearly, these areas are white in the metro area. For textile GDP, we're #1 nationally. Again, another market that we can continue to look at and further explore as we move forward. And this right here concludes my presentation. I do want to say and leave a note that we're all economic developers here. And moving forward, it's important to be prideful of your community as well as acknowledge the facts that be, and help your different organizations that are trying to move and catalyze this change and stand behind them. It's important. But I thank you all again for letting me present right now. I know it's daunting information, and I'll be willing to take questions afterwards. Thank you.
I want you guys to know Molly just did about a 45-minute presentation in 15 minutes. So thank you so much for that. Molly is willing to hang around this morning. She's with our Georgia Chamber Tifton office, and she can answer any questions that you may have. It really is some daunting information there, folks, and those are not good things that we heard, some of them this morning. But again, they are projections. So we have an opportunity starting right now to do something about that. She not only listed those projections, but she gave you several opportunities that we have and things that we can do as a community to work together to move forward. That's where your chamber is going to come in this year, trying to bring all of those different areas together for all of us to be able to achieve success here so that these numbers do not actually happen in our community. So I think we got a great opportunity ahead of us. I think we've got some great things happening in this community. We need to continue to work together to make sure we achieve success here. I do want to say some other things that we have. We mentioned this morning, new police officers. Everybody likes to be safe. You want to be protected. Our police officers do an outstanding job, and they're going to even be able to better protect and serve when we have additional police officers. Leanne mentioned to you some further educational opportunities that are taking place here at Middle Georgia State University. So we continue to grow and work with our educational services here. We got to provide a pipeline of workers for our industries here so that we can experience growth. And then, of course, quality of life. I've been working with Danny and the folks with the city, the recreation department, the county. They're trying to do some neat things out at Southern Pines for you in the future, with a swimming pool out there and a water park and some different things there. So we got a lot of exciting things coming up. I do want to say thank you to our 2018 ambassador team. We announced yesterday there were one or two names that were not on that list that'll be added to it, but we really appreciate all the hard work. Can I see hands for our ambassadors again that are here this morning? Thank you so much, and looking forward to an absolutely wonderful year working with you guys. I want to mention the 2018 January Business After Hours, January 16th is coming up. That'll be at Moore Street Station. The 65th annual dinner actually sold out about 2 weeks ago. We were able to add some more tables when I talked with Shalesta earlier this week. So we still have, I think, maybe 2 more tables that have not been spoken for. All of our sponsors are secured for that. I want to say thank you to YKK, to Erdrich, Curry Companies, Curry Maffitt Insurance Company, SAC Company, and the Medical Center. Those are our VIP sponsors for the event, and they make it possible for us to do all the special things that we'll do that night. First Friday means business. I want to say thank you again to the Rotary folks for attending this morning. We do this on the first Friday of every month. We'd love to have you guys join us. Next month, we're going to have a presentation on the new tax laws. There's a lot of questions, a lot of things that are going on from a personal standpoint and a business standpoint as far as the new tax laws for 2018. So we're going to have a presentation on that next month for you. It'll be a great program. Then a February Business After Hours, and then looking ahead a little bit, the Irish Chamber Breakfast. Many of you are familiar with our guest this year, but if you hadn't heard already, we are going to have Mr. Scott Brantley. So if you enjoy country music, he's going to come and tell his story and play a song or two for us at the Irish Chamber Breakfast. So that'll be a great time. Make sure you register for that whenever the opportunity comes, because that'll sell out as well. And with that, we're going to close our breakfast by reminding you it's a great day for business in Dublin, Lawrence County. We're adjourned.